Good morning, everyone. To those that are in Texas, good afternoon. To those of us that are in the East Coast and in Brazil, welcome to the BRATECC AI webinar, which I would like really on behalf of the EloGroup and the WPeople, thank you and welcome you to this seminar. We're going to wait a few more minutes as we wait for some people to start coming in, and then we'll begin our program. Thank you. For those of you that have logged in, thank you very much. I can see the numbers are increasing. We're just waiting just a few more, 1 or 2 more minutes here as we get more people that are joining us. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I think now we have quite a few people that have already joined us. So let's begin our program. On behalf of the Brazil, Texas Chamber of Commerce, the EloGroup and WPeople Group, welcome to our webinar on artificial intelligence, now labeled AI is Reshaping Business. It's our pleasure to be here and to have such a highly qualified group to present this, this topic. So if, Davi, if you could please go to the next page. And to many of you that may not be aware of the Brazil, Texas Chamber of Commerce or would like more information about it, we were founded in 2001, and we have served the Houston and the Brazil community, or the Texas and Houston and Brazil community, for close to 25 years, building bridges between both regions with long-lasting Brazil connections. And our mission is to bring together organizations and companies, professionals, government leaders to foster and drive trade, investment, and strategic partnerships. So this webinar today is one example of how we do business. So with that, I would like to then introduce Davi Almeida. Davi is a senior partner at EloGroup with over 20 years in the consulting industry. He is currently the United States country partner, and he's focused on delivering AI solutions to their clients. We are looking forward to the presentation, Davi, and I'm sure this is going to be a very insightful presentation for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Davi, as Carla just said. I'm currently leading the expansion into the United States. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about AI. We've been willing to do this webinar for a very long time. I have been discussing with BRATECC for some time to make sure that we had the right people, we had the correct discussion here. Everyone's talking about AI since last year, but since the beginning of 2025, the speed of AI got really high. Everyone, all my clients, all the executives we talk to are talking about AI, so we wanted to do this for some time now. Let me introduce a little bit about EloGroup. We've been working as consultant for around 18 to 20 years. We are 650 people. Most of us comes from the business side of discussions. We are business consultants. With a very good technical background. So we have tech specialists and analytics specialists as well. We are originally from Rio, where I am right now, but we have operations in both Houston and Tampa, and we are expanding to other places in the United States as well, such as Chicago. We originally were a management consulting company, helping our clients to solve their problems, to solve their issues. More recently, like 5 years ago, even before everyone was talking about AI, we got into advanced analytics, and we pivoted our business into going heavily into analytics and AI. We kind of foresee what the future was looking, and we kind of decided that going into AI was our main priority, and we did that way before everyone was talking about it. That kind of put us on a position that we have a lot of use cases we want to talk to you about, and we have a lot of experience on this area. We don't want to talk a lot about EloGroup today. I'm honestly, I want to mostly focus on our point of view when talking about AI, what we are seeing out there, where AI is headed to, and how our clients and yourself can start working with AI. So before we get into this presentation, I want to introduce Zuca as well, our co-host today. He's a senior partner at WPeople. He's been working with executive search and leadership development for the last 15 years or so, and he's currently the United States country partner for people and talent strategy. Zuca, you can go to WPeople introduction as well.
Well, thank you so much, Davi, and starting in BRATECC for the invitation to tag along here on the conversation, because there's definitely a lot of synergies between what we specialize on, right? The relationship between technology and humans and people. But just as a quick disclaimer, I'm actually, this is just an AI version of me, and I created an avatar here for this webinar while I'm at the beach. So having fun, and naturally this discovering, but just a side joke to think about, already get everyone thinking about the possibilities, and how will be, and where would you have your technology self and where you have your personal self. I think that's part of the discussion today. But just a quick brief introduction about who we are and why we decided to do something different. I think to tag along here in the and of the webinar today, really the focus was, we felt after 10 years in the executive search industry that, prior to COVID, that changed a lot of things. We just saw that the industry was taking a turn and our profession was taking a turn. So there were two choices. One, keep in large corporations and wait for something to hurt enough so that it could change, or we would be department. And we just felt that by looking at the numbers, right, when the market was having results of companies track performance, when you have 6% of hiring managers regarding this, less than 20% of companies focusing on onboarding and adaptation, we just saw that there wasn't a problem specifically with the industry. We just needed to be a lot more efficient. We needed to have more technology. We needed to redo and rethink the way the model. And we just started doing something about it, right? As investors in technology, and as also driving, as drivers of our own careers, we just felt as a partner to join. So here are some of the numbers, right? We're spread across 10 partners. Call it small and mighty. Being efficient in front of the client is about being flexible and agile, and at the same time, how do we bring more skin in the game and more care about what we do? So makes this webinar super important here. There are three main roles that are being and leaders that are being directly disrupted, as I have never seen before. Naturally, today is a very challenging moment for CEOs of organizations, and very interesting moments for CIOs and CTOs and CHS. So naturally, these are the three that we'll talk a lot about today, but mainly, the ones we'll be doing and kind of carrying the weight of the transformation are every business leader in our each of us, right, in our daily lives. So that's one that, but thank you for the invitation, because there's definitely a lot of impact in how humans will react to this new phase.
Awesome, thanks for joining. Joe, just go a little through the agenda so you understand a little bit what we're going to be going through during this webinar. We are going to start discussing a little bit that the AI impact is real and it's accelerating. A lot of have been said about the potential of AI, not so much about how fast it's growing. So we are going to talk a little bit about that. After that, we are going to go deeply into what we think AI is going to do to disrupt the work as we know it. We are going to try as much as we can not to get too technical. We are not going to go too deep into discussing architecture and which kind of components and how they connect together. We are somewhat going to scratch the surface of it, but we're going to be mostly focused on discussing the business issues, the business challenges, how you can solve your business problem. What we understand for AI training companies, a lot of them, not most of them, are on phase 1, and we are going to explain a little bit what to understand phase 2 and phase 3, what should be your first steps to it, and then we're going to end this presentation showing a little bit what both EloGroup and WPeople can do to help and to support your AI journey and how to start this. So starting a little bit with what we think AI is and why we decided to do this webinar now, since we've been discussing AI for the last 5 years. As I said, we have several business cases, but why now? Why do this webinar now specifically? The first thing is everything is going so fast since the end of 2024. Everyone's been doing AI, doing machine learning based, doing data integration, predictive analytics, everything, things like that have been experimented for like 3, 4, 5 years, even sometimes 10 years in the past. But then came Gen AI, and Gen AI made being able to do all this technology, all this machine learning based discussion. Last year, everyone was talking about digital transformation. Today, everyone's talking about AI. It's this impactful. It's this fast how things are moving forward, and that's going to bring unprecedented business impact. It gets by the day so much easier to use AI for everything. 1 year ago, no one was using AI to write their emails or to correct their translations. It was every once in a while you were going to use a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But right now, everyone is using it and is already bringing so much impact. A lot of companies are freezing their hirings. A lot of them are doing upskilling to see if they can keep up with this. And there's a big leadership literacy gap. A lot of the executives I talk to, they know it's going to be impactful. They want to be prepared for it, but they never done any kind of any course or any literacy program, anything. So they read about this here and there. They know their team's using it, the GPT, the Gemini, the Groks, but they are not really prepared to what's coming. So we decided to put all of this together and start doing a webinar. We have a full course about it, and we're going to talk later into this presentation. But we decided that this is the moment, especially because this change, this revolution is as impactful as it was back in the past, the introduction of personal computers or the internet or the smartphones. It's the biggest revolution.
To make, and
Sure.
sorry, I just wanted to make a comment here for you, you know, to move on is naturally from the projects you've been helping, and naturally from the more we talk about it, it's been very difficult for a lot of leaders to put into kind of, okay, how do I translate all that to my day-to-day? And also there is bridging that gap of starting somewhere, right? And I think that pace of adoption, right, and which is the next slide, looking into specifically how quickly it's going to happen. There's no option, right? People are just being bombarded in several different directions. So it's very interesting to think about that.
Yeah, before 2023, there's almost no use of GenAI because it didn't exist. But right now, it went up so fast, and it's bringing all the other uses of AI with it. So using machine learning based AI or using any kind of neural network, it's making it so much easier because you don't have to know to code anymore. You can just use a natural language to get the solution through. And it's as impactful as it was the introduction of personal computers or internet or smartphones. It's going to change pretty much everything that we know about work. And that's the topic for my next session. And before getting into the impacts or what you can do with it, I want to make sure that everyone that's in this webinar understand what an agent is. Everyone's been listening, what's LLM, what's RAG, what's an agent, what's agentic technology. So there's so many terms around it. I'm not going to go through all of them. We do have, as I said, a course specifically to go through all of them, but that's the point. That's not the point here. I just want you to understand what an agent is, so you understand why it's impactful. So going through it, the way we like to classify an agent is mostly like this. An agent is mostly a LLM powered model that has two abilities. The first one is it's use external tools or external systems, like search the internet, calculate something, place an order. And when it's triggered by an action, or it knows how to break an order or an action into several different subtasks. So we say, okay, I need to register this document, I need to understand what it is, I need to process it, I need to calculate it, and then I need to input it into the system. Several different tasks. The agent is gonna know to break it, and then if necessary to use the different tools for each of these subtasks in order to execute a process. And the thing about this and what changes about this is most of this action or this organization or this breaking a task or using tools is something human does today. So when you get an invoice by email and you want to put on your ERP, like your SAP or whatever, you're gonna have to check that invoice. You're gonna see if it's okay and all of that, those steps before you put it into the system. So that's what an agent is gonna be doing. It's gonna be doing specifically what a person is gonna be doing. And that's the big difference. And more than that, even to program that agent, you don't have to know a lot about coding. You just can use your own English or whatever language you want. It's Portuguese, Spanish, French, it doesn't matter. You can just use your own language and you're going to be able to program that agent. So this is the basic information that you need to understand for this presentation, because everything else is going to go from there. And using that example that I just did for an invoice, and just so you understand, this example I'm going to do here, it's a real case. It's a real process that we implemented using Gen AI, and with a lot of results. We implemented it back in June, so 2 months ago. And what they had, it was a logistics company. They had around 30 people, 30 FTEs, dedicated to receiving documents like invoice, packing list, and air bill, and putting it in their ERP. And as I just explained, it was mostly receiving the document, understanding which kind of document that was. Is this an invoice? Is this a packing list? Is this an air bill? Then manually validating the information. So crossing if the invoice is in line with the purchase order. Are those the same numbers? Is that correct? And then inputting it into the system. What we did was mostly replace this by an agent. To be technically correct, several agents, but we can just say it's one specific agent. Every step of this way is not done by a person anymore. It's mostly an agent. So you receive automatically. The robot is gonna check into your inbox if anything new came through. It's gonna classify the document by itself, saying if it's an invoice, a packing list, or an air bill. It's gonna see if it's correct with the information that was previously discussed, like the purchase order is in line with the invoice, and then it's gonna input by itself on the system. So everything that was done manually is done automatically through an agent right now.
So that means that the cara crachá is gone, as we say in Brazil.
It's completely gone. And the impactful part of this is it used to have around 8 to 10 people to handle 1,000 documents. And it used to take like 15 to 20 minutes for every document that they had to check, with an error rate of 5 to 8%, with a cost of $4.5 per document. And right now, it only takes like half an FTE or one FTE for every 1,000 documents. And it usually starts off taking like 15 to 20 minutes to process. It's 30 to 60 seconds, almost no error to it, and with the cost way lower. So this is why I'm saying it's revolutionary, because even though it sounds like it seems like a very big impact, and it is, the most important part, it was how easy it was to put this into place, into work. It took us around 8 to 10 weeks to do this with a small team, and more than that, it's already implemented. It's already being used. Or have to do something in the past. You have to buy an RPA platform or workflow platform. And right now, you don't really need to do those things for a lot of the agents, for a lot of the AI interventions that you want to go through. You can use your company's ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok, or whatever they have into their platform technology stack. For example, if it's Google, you might be able to use BRATECC AI, or the one they released last week, the more low-code based solution for people that they are not tech savvy. They don't know how to code, but they know how to move blocks in the screen, and they know how to type in English. It's more than enough to put this together sometimes. Yeah. So this is the big revolution that's going through. It's less about being very intelligent, but how easy it is to make this kind of change in your company.
Yeah. So. And Davi, I was gonna just add a couple of things here from that perspective, which is, from people are thinking, then what about my job? Where do I go? What do I do if they do that? And specifically, business leaders that are dealing with transactional or operational structures, right? Specifically back office, where does it go? And that definitely is a very important question, because you need to be asking yourself at this stage, again, what comes next? And I think that's the beginning of a wake-up call from one end to a lot of people to rethink about how they do and where are they adding value internally or to clients. And at the same time, naturally for any business process leader, am I being as efficient as I can with the structure that I have, right? So specifically in the past, it used to be, the people and leaders would have a lot of pride in saying, hey, I run a team with 100 people. Right now, the question is going to be, okay, how efficient are you, right? And I think from that perspective, that comes in and changes the game plan, and just adding, to the fact that, Davi, I think in a common client of ours, right? I was chatting with the CTO recently, and he said, you guys identified specifically 52 case studies, right? Cases within the company, and about 40 of them were process improvement ones. And I think that adds to the layer that, again, in a moment like we are now, that companies are specifically going deeper into how efficient they can be, even more efficient, right? That just adds another layer, right, of opportunity, right, for everyone. And how can you make a challenge become an opportunity is really for everyone. But just a few more numbers here, right? While speaking to a head of AI, right, and digital transformation in HR for a large consumer goods company, they used part of their offshoring team, which was doing, repetitive tasks, to become more analytic focus, and kind of use that to reduce the cost of all the BAs that they had, in more expensive markets, and kind of look for top talents, right, in nearshoring operations. Microsoft itself, right, when we did the fireside chat, brought in that 25% of coding is already done without humans, 75% of customer service calls is already done with no humans and being solved by that. They've rebudgeted 3 times in 7-8 months, and everyone's using Copilot support. So that level of how fast you do advance, right, comes in with every leader to think about, are you going to be an early adopter or a late adopter? But you can't stay idle. And, I think that gives you a lot to the next slide.
Well, yeah, that's correct. And what I get into the next slide is, I got and discussed about invoice processing, because it's something that every company does. But if you expand this, 60% of corporate tax are considered repetitive, and we can't use AI to go through it. Especially, as I said, when you're talking about human labor, there's necessarily gonna be a lot of error, time zone barrier, backbox process. You don't know exactly what that person is doing. It's hard to scale. If you start growing, you're gonna have to hire a lot of people. When you move into AI, it's more accurate, scalable, and cost efficient. So it's natural that most of the companies gonna replace the repetitive work like compliance, data collection, research, reporting, document processing, and all of those into AI or agents in general. Obviously, there always gonna be some kind of work that's gonna not be able to be done through AI. A lot of physical work like construction, creative work like really creative work, not just manual work, but creative work. Any kind of human interaction like B2B sales, experience-based process, all of this is still gonna have to be done by humans. But most of the repetitive, like the person is gonna just be typing it and in the computer, not thinking about it, it's gonna be replaced by AI at some point. It might not be in 6 months, but it might gonna be in 1 year, 2 years at most. So that speed, it's what we'll be talking about. And to be more specific than that, I gave the example of the invoice processing agent, like this 5.1, but there's several other solutions that we can use like this. For example, if you are working on an order to cash process, you can have a customer inquiry chatbot, someone that's gonna be answering questions for your customers. If they have any kind of dispute about a product, they're gonna be just summarize it to make sure to make it easier for your customer service to interact. You can do the same thing you did with AI with any other kind of document entry, like an order, and even for people like recruit to retire. Zuca have been working with using AI enhanced talent screening, so receiving all the information. just use AI to screen it and get the best candidates for you to actually start talking to them. So this is just some quick and easy examples. Pretty much all of this are very quick to implement, very easy to implement. There are different levels of complexity. For example, assistant that's gonna help you draft an RFP or an SOW is gonna be way easier to make than an agent to input the invoice into the system. But it's still easy, the invoice discussion. So there are lots of things that you can do, not only corporate side levels, but even on the business side of your business, using AI right now. So I'm gonna leave this here. I'm gonna send you the presentation later, so you have all this kind of good use cases that you can start working with from a presentation. But before moving to the steps or to the phases a company is gonna go through when talking about AI, just some cautionary tale, if you can put it like that. The business areas are gonna be the main protagonists for the workforce revolution through AI. So back in the past, IT and data areas were very important. They were basically the one that's gonna code everything, put the system in place. It's not gonna be that anymore. However, and that's the need for caution, data and AI experts are still a very critical part of most AI implementations. So there are some levels of solutions that you might keep in mind. If you're talking something that's about self-service, for example, like I want an assistant to draft an RFP for me or SOW, or I want a co-pilot or assistant to compare different proposals from vendors, or if I want to automate something very simple inside my department, you might not need AI, IT, or data support. You might do it by themselves in something in days or maybe even weeks. It's fast to be implemented. However, there's always limitation. It's going to be restricted to you and to your team. It's not something to be scalable. So it's always important to keep that in mind. On the next step,
we're already seeing that a lot, Davi. Just to confirm, from that perspective, we're already seeing a lot from business leaders to potentially, again, from a literacy perspective, and also to be able to bring the right cases and review their own processes and kind of start thinking about next steps to putting technology, or even asking to have, a dedicated team, which is part of the journey, right? Which leads then to the scaling of those processes, right, in projects.
Perfect. Definitely. They need to know how to do it in order to be done by themselves. That's a very important part. They need to be literate on it. They need to understand how it works so it be done correctly. There's a level 2 where the business is still a very important part of this discussion. However, technology teams or IT teams, they're gonna be responsible for integrating with the architecture of the company or making it a little more scalable. This kind of participation is critical. It's not possible for a business area without any kind of IT support to put together an invoice processing agent, because they're going to have to be integrating with other systems that are responsibility of the IT group. So it's make sure that you want to start an invoice process agent soon, but you need to make sure that your IT team is together. So when you're talking about integration, they are there to help you. They are making sure that you're using the correct systems that they approve, that the cybersecurity is in place. So the business area is gonna be creating the business rules. They are gonna be doing most of the MVP, but IT is gonna be very important to implement at scale and to sustain it. And then there's the highest complex challenge of all, like things like sales forecasting, or dynamic pricing, or demurrage reduction, or course sub solutions. All of this are way more complex, and usually they're going to be using some kind of machine learning based structure or any kind of more number based AI. And for these ones that are way more complex, you are going to still need to have the more specialized technical squads with a lot of data scientists and data engineers to put this kind of solutions together. The good news is that even on level 1, the business the business impact is huge. When you go to level 2, as I just presented about the invoice processing, the business impact is even bigger. When you have a whole GBS structure, a shared services structure, doing processes that are manual. Even if you don't have like big sophisticated solutions, machine learning based solutions, you can still make a lot of results and a lot of efficiency out of this.
Yeah, and David, to make a turn, from that perspective, based looking at all this different levels, I imagine people that are thinking, okay, but how do I start, right? And I think that question of not being idle in the FOMO, right, the fear of missing out, is very, very important for non-literate and technical people. So what that means is that, for, again, you don't have to be an AI expert in your day-to-day, either for yourself or for the business, but specifically knowing a little bit about it and being able to experiment is very important. So from a learning curve, whenever you look at leadership development programs, we always look at the 7-20-10 theory, right? Which means, basically, and learning model, right? 10% of the time should be spent on theory, 20% of time with the support, mentoring, coaching, or some kind of, observation, context, shadowing, and so on, and 70% on the job. So how do you translate eventually, again, your most critical tasks right today and objectives that you have at work, but how do you translate that to your day-to-day as well? So if you're using ChatGPT today from your personal doctor or for travel plans, and it's mainly a communication chat or a more interactive version of Google, just think about how you could do that to your tasks and how you can start kind of implementing that, which naturally gives you already a first level of literacy to be able then to apply to a day-to-day. So the curiosity aspect, the creative aspect, and thinking about what are the things that you could be more efficient with, and where your project could be augmented, right, with kind of using technology that helps you be more efficient, is the key combination, right, for that blend between agents and humans.
Perfect. And with that in mind, actually, let's go to the next part, because that's exactly the next topic. So what are going to be the three main phases? So let's look a little bit into the future to see what the future is going to look like from our organizational perspective. What is going to happen mostly is, right now, most of the companies are going through what we call the phase one, the experimentation phase. Everyone in your company, or almost everyone, is a human that's already using some kind of AI as an assistant. Someone's asking a question to ChatGPT or to Gemini or to Grok or DeepSeek, and they are using that to make better RFPs. They're already using that to make better emails or to create a newsletter. So everyone already know this one because everyone's already doing it. A lot of companies are already doing what we call the phase two, or the human agent teams. So as I just presented with the invoice case, we already have people that's doing part of the work as human work manual, but with a lot of agents augmenting it or replacing it at some point. That's where most of companies are getting into right now, that phase two. This phase should be very fast. I would say by the end of the year, a lot of companies already have some level of this AI-based implementation, solution implemented for the document processing things. It might not be a big use case for them because they might need some time to, as Zuca just said, create the capability for it. But at least experimenting with this being automated is going to be a big part of this. And in the future, maybe on a couple of years, in 2 years or so, there are going to be a lot of corporate areas having basically agents doing the work and the human being a strategic oversight. And this is the of this person today. When you move fast, this fast from here to here, most of the leaders, most of the leadership are not ready to be on this road. They are not ready to lead this revolution, to lead this transformation for the company, and they are not ready to be on this position where they might not even have a team anymore. They're just gonna be organizing agents and interacting with other areas. So this is where we wanted to create a sense of urgency, so the leaders can start preparing now, create a capability now, experimenting now. So when this happens, they are ready to lead and they are ready to be in that position. Or else it's gonna happen as it happened like 20 years ago or 25 years ago with the private computers, with a lot of people didn't know how to use private computers and they were very slow to it and they were disrupted. And it's gonna be pretty much the same thing here right now with the agent. So this is an important worry on our side. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do this discussion on webinars, I did a lot of happy hours and other meetings with this discussion in mind. And every time I talked to people, they were still kind of crawling into this discussion. So this is a little bit one of the main topics for us today right now. So why is that? As I said, a lot of leadership's not ready for it. 58% have never of executives have never attended to any kind of AI training. The team is not ready for it. 31% of the company says that their team is ready for AI, but another 69 say they are not. And even when they start working with it, 70% struggle with the first implementations because they don't know where to start. As I said, it's very easy to do this AI invoice implementation or any of the other use cases that I mentioned here. But to do the first one is very hard. After you do the first one, it's way easier because you already know how to do it. You know what's gonna be the main challenges, what's gonna be the pitfalls, and you can prepare for it. So what I wanted to do, and I think Zuca is gonna be very important this part, is to understand a little bit what's gonna change as the role for the leaders. We're looking into the future from 2 years from now, and that's why we're talking about it now, not in 2 years when it's already happened. Is that the leader is gonna be mostly an orchestrator, not a task manager anymore. So he's not gonna be managing the tasks that their team is gonna be doing. It's gonna be orchestrating a hybrid team, human and agent. A lot of this discussion is going to be more focused on the strategic discussion and understanding the business, the process, and less about doing the operation execution well, because the agent is going to be doing that part too. And as I said, we need to prepare for a human and AI collaboration decision framework, where the robot's going to come, where I'm going to come, when I'm going to be using the agents to help me to make my decisions. So this new leadership role is very important as the next step for the leaders to prepare to.
Excellent. And I think that poses a very important aspect, which is what is the right leadership, right? What are the right skills and where to go? I know it's going to change, and it's changing so quickly that, again, we have many benchmarks in many places, but tomorrow and 3 months and a year from now, things will evolve into what we don't know. So the most important aspect is to go back to, again, a self-assessment from a business perspective and from a personal individual perspective, and think about, okay, how can I start moving now? And I think just a few skills, right, from leadership and how fast the change will move into the tech side is leaders now more, again, we'll need to have cognitive agility, right? So learning agility. So when you think of, again, seniority into doing something 10,000 hours, right, and being in a senior role, and then this is coming so quickly, that aspect is how do you relearn eventually those 10,000 hours, right, and in a more efficient way. And how do you then move to something that you don't know much about, right, which is the technology side. So the interpersonal influencing aspect, right, like a leader that people will trust, right, that will seek the alignment of different areas in the face of an uncertainty, right, whether macro context or their internal transformation, resilience, right, being able to make decisions although you don't have all the answers, and then failing quickly and pivoting. The tech savviness naturally, and I recently did a post on that. But I think more importantly, to reconnect, Davi, with what you're saying is really, we see that a lot of companies are still on the digital transformation phase and on the leadership transformational phase, which they are managing teams by managing tasks, right? And they have all the answers, and they are in a position that gives them comfort, and they're managing annually employees, and they're managing by action plan. where now the leader, right, is already moving into more of a leader coach, less of command and control, more of influence, more of guidance, more of development. And then, it's more about the people, more about daily on the job feedbacks. There are more collaborative for both sides. And it's much more about the exchange that you're going to have with different areas, the collaboration, and with your team, than specifically being, the one who has all the answers. So add technology to that if you have not already moved to sort of that type of leadership, which drives the big gap that we're seeing nowadays in a lot of companies that are slow movers in the process.
Perfect. And with that, I want to get to the last session that we have, so we can use our 10 last minutes to do this, is how you prepare for it. What should be the first steps on this discussion? So what we've been doing with most of our clients is understanding that going from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, it's gonna require you to always look into these 5 dimensions: the AI literacy and people strategy, AI strategy, AI governance, tech foundation, and AI implementation. And what are all this? So mostly for us, the most important one to start with and make sure that people understand what AI is and how it works, and doing the first business cases on it. Why? Because differently from other kinds of disciplines, implementing an AI project only really becomes clear when you are doing it. So having this kind of literacy is going to be important, so they understand and they see what AI is. It's very hard to think about AI strategy and what should be your main business challenges for AI to handle if you don't even know what it is. So the main discussion for us, we are always discussing about AI literacy. Start with AI literacy, make sure that your team knows what it is. And then together with this, start working on your AI strategy. Understand your use cases, your business goals, and always direct the AI for your value creation. Also, make sure that you have a little bit of governance in place to begin with. Make sure that your data foundation is gonna support any kind of AI business case that you want and any kind of AI implementation that you want to be implemented. And make sure you are implementing it before even discussing your AI strategy. Doing like a 2-year, 6-year AI strategy with your leadership, don't knowing what AI is capable of, it's gonna be almost like a imaginary thing. You won't get anywhere with it. So our main recommendation is start doing your implementation. Don't wait for big strategy discussions. Get your document automation in place, your assistant in place. That's a very good place for you to start. And that's one of the reasons that, just to finish this part, is we always tell companies to avoid the big, and as a consulting company, I'm almost going against myself and saying, don't do AI strategy, because usually that's what I'm hired to do. But mostly focus on building capability through use cases. They usually have immediate ROI. They usually have great learning laboratory. They usually have a lower risk, and they prepare you for a cultural shift that you are going to go through anyway. So instead of going for big plans, go for use case implementations. That's my main suggestion for you guys here. And I even put here what I would say it's a good initial AI transformation roadmap to begin your journey using those 5 dimensions that I just mentioned. So do a workshop for your leaders, for your senior leadership. Make sure that your AI champions know the fundamentals for it and start doing some basic prompt engineering training. Define some business cases, some use cases that you want to go through, not a big AI strategy plan, but understand what should be some impactful use cases for you to go through, like 2 or 3 that have a clear ROI, like the invoice processing I just mentioned. Make sure that the AI governance you're going to have in place are mostly guidelines from your IT team for security reasons, not big discussions. Make sure your team is not using a platform that you haven't vouched for. And that's it. Make sure that they are telling the IT team and their leaders which AI they're using. Don't too overthink this kind of discussion, because your people are going to be using AI anyway. if you try to create a very complex prohibition, they're just gonna keep using, and you won't even know it. And then in 180 days or in 1 year, you are gonna be ready to discuss an AI strategy that's gonna be very integrated with your business. But you won't be able to start with that because you don't, as I said, most of the companies, most of people don't even know what AI is capable of, what are the main pitfalls. So they should be starting with this discussion. And this is how we as a company help our clients. We usually try to focus on three things. Most of our projects right now in AI literacy are going through these three steps. We try to foster the team capability through training. We are not originally a training company. We had to get into training because our clients were not ready to start implementing AI. We had to. So we help our clients to foster the team capabilities, to create their first AI opportunity roadmap, and then to develop and implement their solutions. That's what we've been doing for our clients. The three main steps. So they start their AI journey there like this, and they know exactly where they are going for. Most of our clients are hiring this kind of work right now because that's what they think they're more priority. We even have, and I'm going to send this presentation to everyone, a full module structure so you understand how many hours going to be studying analytics concepts or data governance or prompt engineering or testing AI solutions. So we get your team ready to implement the solutions. And we like to embed the opportunity identification within the implementation. So we train your team, we identify their opportunity with them, and then we help them implement some lighthouses or some capstones. So that's pretty much how we think it works. We have a timeline for this. Usually something like 12 weeks is more than enough to go through this discussion. And just to finish, Zuca, your point of view on how to help the leaders on this as well.
Yeah, you brought this to me a lot because you were doing those implementations. You were feeling a lot of again change impact, right, and resistance in some aspects, but also you're feeling that naturally a lot of people and leaders were missing out on some skills and finding specifically challenges. So the way we are looking at this, right, as same as you, we had to become a development company to guarantee performance. We had to become a technology company in order to be more efficient and not be people intensive. And naturally, with again investments and time, and by doing all the job and using us as client zeros, we naturally have expanded our reach. But the key factor is, again, HR needs to really, and I know that a lot already know, but they need to be aware of their adaptation, the process, right? So we're supporting everything around people and leadership from a top-down perspective to basically make sure that they are understanding the business and also are getting some kind of literacy in tech to be both business enablers, right, with CTOs. Sometimes, right, when you think about and you start looking forward and start planning, strategy, culture, and performance, org design, management, operating models, and people, you won't have time to build from within. So you're going to have to recruit what you can build, and you're going to have to integrate and develop the top talent as soon as possible in the organization. And part of that change comes from top management, but also comes from the doers, right? The middle management. And I think overall is, again, the triangle, the line is critical. But specifically understanding the what, how, and who, right, is going to be part of that. But naturally, all the business enablers and all the other business lines and the leaders need to be aware and kind of pull, and bring and pressure their IT and their HR departments to be their partners in that transformation. So here is where we can also help. And I think we got questions, right, Davi, overall?
Yeah, we do. But before it's more process than IT out there. That's perfect. Yeah. And before we go 100%. Into the last topic of this, the just the final words before we go to some questions. As I said, it's a journey. You are gonna have to do the first steps on it. you can't do the 100th step before you do the first one. So if you try to jump or to leapfrog through several of steps, you're gonna do it wrong. So try not to go too fast on this. Try to make sure that you're in the first steps first, understanding how it works, understanding how to implement the first ones. Reap the results of your first implementations, because that's gonna unlock a lot of time for and results for you to do the next ones. And if you need any help on this, both myself and Zuca were more than happy to help you guys with this. Give us a call, send us an email, contact us, and we'll be more than happy. Yeah. And just getting, we got those questions and going through some of them, because we won't be able to go through all of them. We're going to reply to them through email, but we won't be able to go through all of them. So where do I start? I can guarantee most of your companies already have AI tool or AI solution or a Gen AI solution embedded on their vendor contract. So if your technology providers is Microsoft, you're probably gonna have the ChatGPT available. If it's Google GCP, you're gonna have Gemini, and it goes on and it goes on. With that, is more than enough for you to start using it as an assistant, and sometimes even and to create an edge agent. So what I would say is where to start, since we have several questions regarding where to start, where do I start, is identify some very manual heavy process, like writing reports or writing RFP or writing any kind of thing that's going to require a lot of text. And that's a very good place for you to start experimenting with your AI solution. Even if you are a leader and you don't do that anymore, like a lot of leaders don't do a lot of reporting anymore, their team is going to be doing that. You have to do it so you feel it, because at some point you are going to be using this. You need to understand how prompts work. You need to understand how writing the correct instructions for AI is going to give you a better result. So all of this is going to be very important through your process, especially because after some time you won't have an analyst to help you anymore. It's going to be all by yourself. So you're going to need to be fluent in working with an AI for that. So start with heavy manual heavy process. Those are the best place for you to start. Understand which technology or which application you already have available within your company. You will have even smaller companies. They have some kind of cloud vendor or cloud provider. That's usually more than enough for you to start with. From there, you can learn other components that might be important for you to get for the more complex solutions, but start with the easiest ones. And from your side, Zuca, for the people implications.
Yeah, I'm looking at the two questions here, and I think look from one perspective, and I think this is more critical to the US, right? The US has definitely a lot of very senior subject matter experts, and now the country is facing a big impact in cost. So I think from that perspective, again, it's equal playing field, right? And making a connection here between American football and Brazilian football. Again, what you knew before, which was, again, a specific knowledge for a skill that you had, nowadays, the pace that people can pick it up, right? It's super fast. So from that perspective, it means that if the value is only on the empirical knowledge, right? That knowledge naturally, as a lot of companies are moving towards having and owning their data, and we are also owning our data. Specifically, what are the other skills that you need to groom that are not there, right? So I think that perspective for organizations on what do I nearshore, offshore, what do I have, and what's the type of talent that I want to have locally is truly a challenge, because globalization and technology kind of make it a playing field. I think on the other aspects, which particularly to the question of what 100% in the future, we're already pushing forward the fact that, again, any type of professional service that today is brokerage also will either be suffering growth issues or specifically margin issues, which mean that it's truly transactional or documented oriented or compliance oriented will have an major impact, which then it is about becoming a trusted partner. It's about guaranteeing and driving, again, your solution to really creating a result. And specific process has been, where do we position the service into the sense that it truly drives the impact, and where does our experience and our solutions can help companies do it themselves, and kind of, again, had a better ATI system, connect the stages between hiring, developing, and transitioning. So all of that becomes more of an integrated and a more efficient flow for everyone. So that's my 2 cents.
Perfect. And so we can finish in time. Thanks everyone, and thanks once again, BRATECC, for the opportunity, and Carla for the introduction here. As I said, we've been looking forward to this for some time. As you saw through the module that I told about governance, AI governance, engineering, we just kind of scratched the surface of everything there is to be discussed about AI and leadership and the first steps and use cases. If you want to get into more detail about this, feel free to contact us. As well as I said, this presentation is being recorded, and we're gonna put it available on BRATECC's YouTube channel, so you guys can forward it to your colleagues. And once again, thanks a lot. It was great being here with you guys, and I see you all next time.
Thank you very much, Davi and Zuca. I really appreciate your presentations. On behalf of BRATECC, we appreciate both of you. And one thing I just want to highlight, this was a very practical presentation, and I really appreciated the insights that you had, because this provides not only rhetorical and sort of theoretical tools, it provides very practical solutions. Really appreciate it.
And thank you everyone, and that's what we try to do, Carla, and thank you for the openness here. And since it's lunchtime for a lot of people, and specifically kind of a work hour, that's what we felt like, how can we make people leave the call and specifically go and take their colleagues and think about it and already start operating, which is what drives those impacts every day. So we would love the feedback as well. So thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.